Okay, so we are out here for our life raft challenge. Or I always say we on these challenges. For some reason, I start talking like I got a group of people with me, but I'm all by myself out here. And this is my home for the next 3 days. It's just me and a bunch of water and a boat. So I got a late start today. It's probably about 8 o'clock. Sun's already up and it's pretty hot. So I've already stripped off a couple of layers, and I'm going to work on a few priorities right now. I want to try and build a bed of some kind. This is an aluminum boat, so it's not going to be comfortable to just sleep on it the way it is. And then I also want to build some shade overhead so that I don't just get scalded in the sun. And then if I have time, I might put together a trout line to try and catch some fish. I brought along some hooks. So I didn't bring anything else as far as fishing gear, but we'll see if we can rig something up and see how it goes. Alright, show you what I rigged up here. So I had some climbing rope, and in most life raft types of situations there's some sort of cordage available, and all I've done is I've strung it between these two seats or wells, whatever you want to call them, wrapped it around real tight, and then put some cross braids in there to keep everything in place. So that'll be kind of a hammock for me for this evening, so I'm not sleeping on the aluminum, and that'll keep me a little bit warmer and also be more comfortable. So now I just got to get something up overhead for some shade. It's about 11 o'clock out here. I'm thinking it's about 90 degrees, so it's getting pretty intense. I've just tried to rig up a tripod type setup so that I can hang one of my shirts from it for some extra shade. What I've got wrapped around my head is called a shemagh. It's just basically an oversized handkerchief. I've heard several special forces soldiers say that they always take something like this with them whenever they're deployed, because it's great to completely cover your face from the elements, from sun, from cold, from wind, from sand, anything that could affect your face or your head. So without any sunscreen, that's going to be absolutely essential out here. And I'm working on a few other things. Yeah, right now I'm working on a 4-point spear here, and you can see there's a little bit of blood there. I cut my thumb pretty good while I was working on it, and don't have any extra cloth or bandages out here, so you got to think what's going to be a type of cloth or something that you can use to wrap it and apply pressure that's going to be clean and somewhat sterile. And inside my pant leg down here, there was a drawstring that's actually a strip of cloth that I used, and that's going to be able to keep this from getting infected, hopefully. I'll probably try and boil some water this evening to clean it out further, but sometimes I forget how sharp my knife is. So, we're going to finish that up and maybe try and do some spear fishing or something before too long. And hopefully we can make it through the temperatures here this afternoon, and it'll cool off before too long. Now, one of the things that I constantly preach about survival is always have a plan B for everything, and this is a great example of it. We're not even 4 hours into the challenge, and my favorite water filter is completely clogged. I can't get any water through it, and it is not the type that can break apart to clean it out. So thankfully I have iodine tablets with me so that I can purify water, even though my filter is not working. But it's the same with any aspect of survival. If you have a lighter with you, you also want to have a ferro rod for starting fire, just in case the lighter gets wet or stops working. If you have a tent with you, you also want to have an emergency blanket just in case the tent gets ripped up by a windstorm or something. Whatever the case may be, you just want to make sure that you always have a plan B, and in this case, plan B is literally keeping me alive for the next few days. Okay, now this is what's called a trot line. I've got about 10 yards of cordage, and every yard I've got a baited hook with about 2 inches of line that I've pulled from the inside of the paracord. Got a weight here on the end of it, so once I drop this will give me changes in depth as well as areas of cover and areas without cover, and I basically have 10 lines in the water at all times, so hopefully that'll help us catch some fish. Alright, well, I kind of wondered whether it was worth the time to make a 4-point spear. Well, you can see that I've got dinner because of it. My trot line with the fish did not produce anything, so we're having frog legs tonight. Hopefully we'll get fish tomorrow, but it was definitely worth making this spear. It took me a few tries, but I finally got them, so I'm going to cook some frog legs. Okay, so here all I'm doing is taking a tinder bundle and using a magnifying glass that's part of my compass here to get a fire started. So I just gotta wait for the sun to come out and give me a direct beam here, and it'll start smoking, and then we'll get a fire going. Yeah, I've got a little piece of char cloth in here. You can see it's starting to smoke now. Have to rearrange it to keep from burning my hand here. There we go. So you didn't think that I could build a fire on a boat? Well, found some mud and some bricks in the bottom of the pond, and got some driftwood, and make sure I don't burn the place down. And it is dinner time. So it's my first night out here, and it's been a lot of time to think. Too much time to think. And makes me think about all the things I've done right, things I've done wrong. But also makes me think about how long I've been out here. I've been out here for a day, and you know, there was an individual in World War II that was out here for 133 days on a life raft. I can only imagine how crazy that guy went. But looking forward to see what tomorrow brings. Oh, it is so friggin' hot. It's about 4:30, I think, on day 2. I slept most of the day today. Still no fish on the trot line, so that's not great. I've tried to catch a few more frogs with no luck so far. Little bastards are quick. But I don't know, I still got my spear. I still got a few more hours of daylight to try and get some food. I've stayed hydrated fine, using the iodine tablets to purify water. And, you know, finally got some rest this morning, so at this point I'm just toughing it out. And hopefully we'll get some food. I'm frickin' hungry. So I'm so bored that I've made a ring toss game to try and pass the time. It'll amaze you when you get in a situation like this and you're bored, the different things you do to try and keep your mind occupied. Makes you feel a little bit crazy while you're out here, but you know, whatever gets you through it. Okay, so I got a little overzealous with my spear hunting and broke my spear, so I've had to lash it together with some of the interior cordage from my paracord. But I thought this might be a good opportunity to go over knots. I hate knots. I am not good at it. You know, they try and teach you that kind of stuff in Boy Scouts, and I'm an Eagle Scout, but I just barely got through it. It's not my thing. But there's two knots that are absolutely essential, I feel, in survival scenarios, and I'm going to just cover them real quick. They're super easy. One of them is the clove hitch. And I'm going to use some bright cordage here to kind of display how this works. So anytime you're tying around a pole, you're going to use a clove hitch, ideally. And basically what you're doing as you wrap this around, you're wanting to create an X where your two pieces of cordage cross, like that. And then when you come back around, you want to go under the middle of the X. And this is a self-tightening knot, so once you get it in here and pull that tight, that's not going anywhere. The more you pull on it, the tighter it gets, and then you can wrap around there and you can lash two poles together or whatever you need to do. So I find a lot of uses for that knot. The other knot that I use, and always have used a lot ever since I was a kid, is a square knot. A square knot is when you're trying to connect two ends of cordage together. So you can use this to tie around a post or to tie two pieces of cordage together. You know, there's a lot of different uses for it, but the way that I like to do it is left over right, and then right over left. And they call it a square knot because when you're done, it kind of has a square shape to it, but that's super tight and that's not going anywhere. The only other knot that I use a lot of is just a simple overhand knot, which is when you want to make a loop of some kind. It's pretty simple. It's just like that, and you've got a loop. So you're just going over and through. Pretty basic. When I make snares, what I'll do is I'll do an overhand knot and then basically turn that into a slip knot, which as this tightens, it'll slip around the neck of an animal. Well, eating bugs is not my favorite thing to do, but I'm pretty hungry, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So I got some ants on my boat somehow, and I guess I'm gonna be munching on those. So fun stuff. Well, at least it doesn't really have much of a taste to it. I guess that's a good thing. Yum. It's time to wrap things up. It's been a crazy 3 days out here. Temperatures have been nuts, and I've obviously got some sun. Super hungry, and looking forward to getting back to air conditioning and some real meals and stuff like that. But it's been a learning experience. I've really enjoyed being out here, especially the evenings, and you know, it's taught me a lot about myself and my abilities. I feel like I've been pretty productive out here. You know, I built a spear and was able to get dinner with that. Had a backup plan for purifying water. Was able to build a fire on the boat with the magnifying glass. Built a trot line, even though it didn't catch any fish. You know, I feel like I accomplished a lot for 3 days, and learned a lot in the process. So the next challenge that I have is probably going to be in August or September. I'll be headed to the Ozark Mountains. I've got a relative that has a bunch of land down there, and it is intense hillsides, and it's going to be some intense temperatures, and I plan to be down there for the better part of a week, building 2 separate campsites and traversing the entire property from corner to corner. So it'll be taxing, and I think I'm ready for the temperatures. I need to probably get in a little bit better shape and do some more hiking, but I'm looking forward to it. So this is Ryan Dotson. I appreciate you watching, and from Bristol, Virginia Bushcrafting, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.